The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. It was the place where the leaders of countless civilizations gathered to discuss peace, trade, and survival. On the world of VaynerPrime, under the shining towers of crystal and steel, the council hall stood as a symbol of unity. Every great species had a voice here, and every seat represented a civilization's pride. But there was one seat that always remained empty. It was not a forgotten chair, nor one belonging to a fallen empire. It belonged to Earth, the home of humankind. When humanity achieved faster-than-light travel almost 2 centuries ago, the Council had sent an invitation. They welcomed Earth into the family of stars. At first there was excitement among the other species. The Council expected Earth to attend, to learn, and to take its rightful place. But when the first meeting came, no human arrived. The seat stood empty. At the next meeting, again, the seat was untouched. Decades passed. Generations of aliens looked at the human seat with mixed feelings. Some mocked it, others feared it, and some simply forgot. The Charon Union, a proud reptilian empire, often laughed at the thought. Their ambassador once said, "Humans are too timid to step into the stars. They hide on their little blue world, scared of true power." The Olyari, a winged species who valued order, were harsher. Their representatives declared, if Earth will not come, then perhaps they should lose their seat. Why waste space on silence? But not everyone agreed. The Talari, small and fox-like traders, believed humans had their reasons. Perhaps, their merchant leader suggested, they prepare in silence. A quiet trader often hides the strongest deal. Still, the council moved on without Earth. Votes were taken, alliances formed, laws written, all while the chair of humanity sat like a ghost in the chamber. Far away on Earth, the truth was very different. Humanity had not forgotten the invitation. They had not ignored it out of fear. Instead, they had chosen silence for a reason. On the surface, life on Earth looked normal. Cities glowed with towers, skies filled with airships, oceans alive with trade. But beneath the surface, deep in hidden shipyards and secret stations humans were building. They remembered their own history, centuries of wars, conflicts, and struggles. Humanity knew how dangerous a galaxy full of advanced civilizations could be. So they decided to wait, to watch, and to prepare. The leaders of Earth's nations formed a hidden council of their own, not known to the galaxy. They called it the Terran Assembly. Unlike the Galactic Council, this assembly was small, secret, and united. Its single goal was survival. The assembly ordered the construction of vast fleets. Asteroids were hollowed out to build hidden factories. Shipyards were buried inside nebula clouds where sensors could not reach. Scientists worked on weapons powerful enough to defend against any threat. Generations of humans were born and raised with one unspoken mission: be ready. Meanwhile, in the grand chambers of VaynerPrime, Earth's absence became more than a curiosity. It became a story told in whispers. Some young diplomats wondered if humans were extinct. Perhaps they destroyed themselves, one Olyari student suggested. They fought too many wars in their past. Maybe they could not escape their old nature. Others believed Earth was weak. They cannot sit among us, said a Charon general. They fear showing their faces because they know they are prey, not predators. But there were also those who felt uneasy. The Yaran scholars, a peaceful aquatic race, studied human history from the archives. They knew humanity had risen from a violent past but had survived countless disasters. They warned, never mistake silence for weakness. Humanity's story is one of survival. If they are absent, it may be because they prepare for something greater than we see. Their warning was often ignored. The galaxy, filled with its own problems, paid little attention to an empty chair. Time moved on. The Galactic Council argued endlessly about trade disputes, border conflicts, and piracy. While empires bickered over territory, a shadow grew at the edge of the galaxy. The Vorgath swarm, an insect-like species with endless hunger, began to expand. At first, it was only rumors. Colonies near the galactic rim vanished. Merchant ships disappeared. Explorers sent distress signals that were never answered. The council debated, but no action was taken. Great empires did not wish to risk their fleets. Small empires begged for help but were ignored, and still, Earth remained silent. Their seats stayed cold and untouched. On Earth, the Terran Assembly watched these events closely. They had known long before others that the galaxy was not safe. They had intercepted signals from the swarm years earlier. Long before the Council admitted the threat, human leaders spoke in hidden chambers under the mountains of Earth. "The Council will not act," said Admiral Reyes, commander of the Terran Armada. "They argue while the swarm grows stronger. If we wait too long, no one will be left to fight beside us." Dr. Lin, a scientist of the Assembly, nodded. "Our preparations are nearly complete. The fleets are built, the weapons tested. But if we move too soon, the galaxy will see us as conquerors, not saviors." The Assembly's leader, a calm woman named Aisha Malik, gave the final word. "Then we will wait. We will wait until the galaxy truly needs us. Only then will we reveal our strength." And so Earth stayed silent. Back in the Council chamber on Vayner Prime, the empty seat of Earth became more than just an absence. It became a symbol. Some called it the seat of arrogance, mocking humanity's refusal to appear. Others called it the seat of shadows, whispering that humans had secrets too dark to share. But among the smaller civilizations, those often ignored by the great powers, Earth's empty chair became a sign of hope. They whispered to each other, "Perhaps the humans will come when we need them most. Perhaps they wait for the right time." One young alien, a Talari merchant's apprentice, often stared at the empty seat. His master noticed and asked, "Why do you watch that chair so often?" The apprentice answered softly, "Because I believe one day it will not be empty, and when that day comes the galaxy will change." His master only laughed. "Perhaps, young one, or perhaps the humans are nothing more than ghosts." The apprentice said nothing, but in his heart he held on to the thought. The galaxy spun on. Unaware that far away, in hidden shipyards glowing within red nebulae, the Terran Armada stood ready. 1,000 warships, each more advanced than the Council could imagine, waited in silence. Crews trained day and night, captains studied strategies, and soldiers prepared for war. Humanity had skipped every galactic meeting, but not because they were weak. Not because they were afraid. They had skipped them because they were waiting. And when they came, they would not arrive with words or promises. They would come with fire, steel, and unity. The empty seat was not a sign of absence. It was a promise of what was to come. Part 2. Whispers of a Return. The galaxy was wide and endless, filled with thousands of stars and countless civilizations. For centuries, the Galactic Council had tried to keep order among them, but order was fragile. Alliances shifted, borders changed, and threats always lurked beyond the rim. Yet recently, one rumor spread more than all others. Whispers of movement. Whispers of ships. Whispers of humans. For nearly 2 centuries, Earth had been silent. Their seat in the Council stood empty, collecting dust while other civilizations debated and fought. Most had come to believe that humans were unimportant, a minor species that did not deserve attention. But then the rumors began. Strange sightings. The first reports came from the Outer Rift, a dangerous border where few dared to travel. Small scout ships belonging to the Talari traders returned with stories. They spoke of enormous ships moving together in formation, their hulls black as shadow, their engines brighter than stars. One merchant told the Council, "They did not attack me, but they watched. Their ships were sharp and silent. I swear they were human." The chamber filled with laughter. The Charon ambassador hissed, "Impossible. Humans do not build fleets. They barely send ambassadors." But then more reports came. The Yaran explorers, swimming through the oceans of distant worlds, sent distress calls after spotting fleets near nebulae. Before their signals cut out, they spoke one word: Terran. Even the proud Olyari patrols noticed something. A captain returned, feathers ruffled, and declared, "There is movement in the rift. Organized movement. This is no pirate band. This is a fleet. A fleet too disciplined to be random." The Council argued, as always. Some called the rumors lies. Others feared they were true, but no one could agree. The growing unease in the markets of neutral worlds, stories of humans became a kind of legend. Children of alien races whispered to each other, "The Terrans are building something in secret." Traders used the rumors to raise prices. Soldiers told the tales in mess halls before battle. The smaller civilizations, who were often ignored in Council debates, paid special attention. The Koreans, a weak but clever people, hoped it was true. Their ambassador whispered, "If humans return with strength, perhaps they will protect us." But the great empires scoffed. The Charon Union dismissed the stories. "Even if they build fleets, they cannot match us." Their silence proves their weakness. The Olyari were more cautious. Their strategists marked human systems on their maps and quietly moved fleets closer. They would not admit fear, but their actions showed it. And through all of this, the seat of Earth in the council chamber remained empty. The new threat, while the galaxy argued about humans, a darker danger grew. At the edges of known space, the Vorgath swarm spread like a shadow. They were insectoid, countless in number and driven by hunger. Entire colonies vanished in their path. Planets were stripped clean until nothing remained but dust and bone. The first reports of the swarm were ignored. A few missing colonies, a few lost ships. It could have been pirates or local wars. But soon the truth was undeniable. The swarm was real. They were moving inward toward the heart of the galaxy. Smaller civilizations cried out for help. The Talari begged the Council for protection of their trade routes. The Yaren sent warnings about swarm fleets devouring water-rich worlds. Even the mighty Oliari admitted they had lost several border outposts. But the Council did what it always did. It argued. The Charon demanded tribute from smaller races before sending help. The Oliari insisted on endless debates about strategy. The Talari tried to negotiate, but no one listened. And while they argued, the swarm grew stronger. Silent observers unseen by the Council. The humans were watching. Hidden stations across the galaxy intercepted signals. Human scouts followed swarm fleets in stealth ships, recording every movement. Deep inside the Terran Assembly's command chambers, holograms of the swarm filled the air. Admiral Reyes studied them with a calm face. "They spread faster than we predicted," he said. "If they reach the core, the Council will fall apart." Dr. Lin adjusted the hologram. "We have prepared for this. Our fleets are ready, but we cannot reveal ourselves yet. If we enter too early, they will see us as rivals, not allies." Assembly Leader Aisha Malik gave her quiet order. "We wait. Let the Council struggle. Let the galaxy see the true danger. And when the moment comes, we will arrive, not with excuses but with power." Thus, the Terran Armada remained hidden but ready. Fear and hope back on Vayner Prime, the Council chamber was louder than ever. The swarm's attacks forced even the proudest empires to admit fear. "We must unite our fleets," one Yaren scholar pleaded. "If we continue to argue, the swarm will devour us all." The Charon general snarled. "We will defend ourselves, but why should we waste our strength protecting weaklings? Let the small empires fall. Only the strong deserve survival." The Oliari leader raised her wings. "Unity is needed, but not chaos. We must first decide who commands and who pays." The debate stretched for days while colonies burned. In the back of the chamber, the empty seat of Earth seemed to glow under the Council lights. Some diplomats stared at it in silence, their thoughts unspoken. A few even whispered to one another, "If the humans return, maybe they will act." The first signs one evening, as the councilors rested in their towers, the skies above Vayner Prime were filled with light. A fleet of unknown origin passed through the system. Not close, but visible on long-range sensors. The patrol ship scanned it. The signal returned clear. Terran design. For the first time in 2 centuries, a human fleet had entered known space. They did not send messages. They did not approach the planet. They passed like a silent storm, moving in perfect formation before vanishing into a nebula. Panic spread through the city. Merchants shouted that humanity had returned. Civilians filled the streets with speculation. Some cheered, some trembled. The Council called an emergency meeting. The chamber was full. The air buzzed with tension. Every ambassador wanted answers. The Charons slammed their claws on the table. If humans build fleets, then they plan to conquer. This is proof of their arrogance. The Oliari leader raised her wings calmly. Or perhaps they plan to fight the swarm. Do not forget, humans have always been warriors. The Talari merchant smiled softly. "You laugh at us when we said humans were preparing. Now you see the truth. The question is not if they return. The question is when." The Speaker of the Council, an old Yaren, stared at the empty seat. For 2 centuries, they left this place silent. But perhaps the silence ends soon. No one disagreed. For the first time, the Council felt united, not in decision, but in unease. The quiet before the storm across the galaxy, rumors grew into certainty. Human fleets were moving. Hidden shipyards lit up in nebula clouds. Unknown signals pulsed through the stars. In the minds of many, hope flickered. If the humans truly returned, perhaps they would stand against the swarm. Perhaps they would do what the council could not. But in the hearts of others, fear burned. If the humans had built such strength in silence, then what else had they hidden? Could anyone truly trust them? And still, Earth remained quiet. No ambassador arrived. No message was sent. Only the sight of their fleets moving like shadows proved they were real. The galaxy now lived in waiting. Waiting for the swarm to strike deeper. Waiting for the council to act. And most of all, waiting for humanity to break its silence. Because when Earth finally spoke, everyone knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The council chamber on Vayner Prime had seen many dramatic moments over the centuries. Empires rose and fell, alliances broke and mended, but nothing had prepared the galaxy for the day humanity returned. For generations, Earth's seat had remained empty, a silent reminder of their absence. But whispers had been growing, fleets seen near nebulae, strange signals from the outer rift. Many dismissed them, but deep down, every civilization wondered, what if the humans really are coming back? That question was answered in a single moment, when the skies of Vayner Prime turned to fire. The first signal, it began with a tremor in the planetary defense network. The Olyari monitoring stations reported an anomaly, thousands of ships entering the system at once. Their engines were too powerful, their energy signatures unlike any seen before. At first, the council feared the Vorgath swarm had arrived. Panic spread through the halls, but then the signals were identified. The ships were not swarm vessels. Their designs matched old records. They were Terran ambassadors, and guards rushed to the windows of the chamber. In the black sky above Vayner Prime, the void shimmered with light. One after another, massive ships appeared from hyperspace, forming into perfect lines. Not hundreds, not dozens, but 1,000 warships aligned with precision. Their hulls gleamed silver and black, sharp-edged like blades. Each ship was larger than anything most species had ever seen. Their weapons glowed with restrained energy. Their shields flickered like waves of light. The galaxy froze. Humanity had returned, not with a whisper, but with a thunder that shook the stars. Reactions of the council chamber erupted. Voices clashed louder than ever before. The Charon ambassador's scales rattled as he shouted, "This is invasion!" They come with weapons, not with peace. The Olyari leader spread her wings, her voice calmer but firm. Or perhaps they come because of the swarm. Look at them, this is not chaos. This is discipline. The Talari merchant leaned back in his chair, a sly smile forming. I told you all. I told you the humans were preparing. Now the galaxy sees the truth. The smaller civilizations cheered in hope. They had begged the council for protection for years, and no one had answered. Now they saw a fleet so powerful it could stand against anything. The speaker of the council, an old Yaran, struck the podium to silence the noise. His watery eyes stared at the empty seat of Earth. If they have returned, then they must explain themselves. As if hearing his words, a signal entered the chamber. A deep, calm voice spoke. This is Admiral Reyes of the Terran Armada. Earth requests entry. The walk into history. The great doors of the council chamber opened. Every ambassador turned as figures entered. They were human, tall and disciplined, wearing dark uniforms marked with the insignia of Earth. Their boots echoed on the polished crystal floor. At the front walked Aisha Malik, the leader of the Terran Assembly. She carried no weapon, only the calm authority of someone who had waited centuries for this moment. At her side walked Admiral Reyes and Dr. Lin, representing Earth's military and science. The chamber fell silent. Even the proud Charon held his tongue, all eyes fixed on the humans as they walked to their seat. For the first time in 2 centuries, the empty chair was filled. The question. The speaker rose slowly, his voice trembling but strong. Humans of Earth, your silence has lasted for generations. You were invited to join this council, yet you never came. Now you arrive with 1,000 warships. The galaxy demands to know why now. The words hung heavy in the air. Some expected excuses. Others expected arrogance. Many braced for threats, but Aisha Malik's answer was simple. Because now the galaxy needs us. A murmur spread through the chamber. Some were confused. Others leaned forward in curiosity. She continued, her voice steady, each word clear. For 2 centuries we prepared. We listened to your debates. We watched as your empires argued while threats grew in the dark. We built in silence not for conquest but for survival, and now the swarm advances. Worlds fall, colonies burn. You argue while the enemy devours. Earth will not argue. Earth will fight. Her words struck like lightning. The smaller civilizations erupted in cheers. The Charon sneered but could not hide the unease in his eyes. The Olyari stared with sharp focus, calculating every word. The speaker asked, "You bring warships. Do you offer alliance or do you offer command?" Admiral Reyes stepped forward, his voice as firm as steel. "We offer both. Fight beside us or fall without us. Humanity does not seek to rule this council, but we will not let it die in silence." The show of power, as if to prove their words, the Terran armada moved into formation above Vayner Prime. Their ships stretched like a wall of steel across the sky. One by one they activated their weapons, not firing but letting the galaxy see their strength. Beams of light cut across the darkness, each weapon powerful enough to shatter a capital ship. Shields rippled like oceans. Engines glowed brighter than suns. It was not a threat. It was a promise. Humanity had arrived not as beggars but as guardians. On the surface of Vayner Prime, billions watched the sky. Fear and awe filled their hearts. Parents held children close, whispering, "The humans are here." Merchants counted profits, seeing new trade. Soldiers straightened their backs, inspired. Hope returned to the galaxy, carried on the steel wings of Earth. Division among the council. Not all welcomed them. The Charon Union immediately protested. "We cannot allow this. If humans command, then all our power is lost. They must leave or we will fight them ourselves." But their threats sounded hollow compared to the 1,000 ships above. The Olyari took a more careful stance. "We do not trust easily. Yet we cannot ignore their strength. Perhaps this council must finally act together." The smaller civilizations united behind Earth at once. The Talari, the Yaren, the Carians all begged the humans for protection. To them, Earth was not a danger, but salvation. The chamber nearly split apart. Yet through the chaos, the speaker raised his hand. "Enough, the swarm is coming. This council has failed to act. Perhaps humanity is what we need." For the first time, the council leaned toward true unity, not because of words, but because of fear and hope mixed together. The moment of truth. Isha Malik rose once more. "We do not ask for your trust today. We ask for your courage. Join us in battle. Stand beside us and we will stand beside you. The swarm devours without mercy, but united we can defeat them." She turned, her eyes sweeping the chamber. "The choice is yours. But know this, whether you choose action or silence, Earth will fight." The council chamber fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy truly listened. The beginning of warfare beyond Vayner Prime, the Vorgath swarm spread like a plague, their fleets already moving toward richer worlds. They had no interest in politics, no patience for debates. They only hungered. But now, for the first time, they faced an enemy who had prepared, an enemy who had waited in silence, not for power, but for this exact moment. The humans had returned. The 1,000 warships above Vayner Prime glowed with light, their presence undeniable. The galaxy was no longer the same, and as whispers spread across the stars, one phrase was repeated in every marketplace, every home, every fleet. Earth has arrived. The return of Earth changed everything. For centuries, the Galactic Council had argued and hesitated, while the Vorgath swarm grew stronger. But now, with 1,000 Terran warships hanging in the skies of Vayner Prime, hesitation ended. Humanity had spoken, and their words were action. The galaxy no longer asked whether the humans were real. The galaxy now asked, can they lead us to victory? The first strike news came quickly. The swarm had reached the Carian cluster, a group of small worlds known for crystal mines. The local fleets had fallen within days. Cities were consumed, oceans boiled, and survivors fled in scattered ships. The council trembled. Many wanted to send aid, but no empire dared to sacrifice its own fleets. That was when Admiral Reyes stood before the chamber. "Terran Armada will strike," he declared. His voice was calm, but his words carried steel. "We will not allow another world to fall without resistance." The smaller civilizations erupted in cheers. Even the cautious Olyari leaned forward with interest. Only the Charons scowled, but they no longer spoke too loudly. Within hours, the Terran Armada moved. Humanity's strategy unlike the disorganized fleets of the Council races, the Terran Armada moved with unity. their ships aligned in perfect formations, each vessel covering the others. Their weapons were tuned not for show but for precision. Dr. Lin stood on the command bridge beside Admiral Reyes. The swarm spreads in waves. They do not think as we do, but they respond to pressure. If we strike their supply hives, the rest will collapse. Reyes nodded. Then that is where we hit. The Terran armada entered the rift. Thousands of ships moved as one. Scouts flew ahead, mapping enemy movements. Carriers released wings of fighters that shimmered like flocks of silver birds. The swarm met them in a storm of teeth and claws. Vast insectoid ships covered in armor like bone surged forward. They had no formation, no fear, only hunger, but they had never faced humanity. Fire in the rift. The first battle was chaos. Swarm ships hurled themselves against Terran shields, tearing with claws and spitting streams of acid fire, but the Terrans held. Open fire, Reyes commanded. 1,000 beams of light split the darkness. Swarm vessels were sliced apart, their bodies torn to dust. Missiles streaked across the void, exploding within enemy clusters. Fighter wings darted in and out, cutting through the chaos with deadly accuracy. For every human ship that fell, 10 swarm vessels were destroyed. For every fighter lost, a swarm nest burned. The galaxy watched from afar, as signals of the battle were transmitted across systems. Billions saw humanity's fleet hold the line where no one else could. For the first time, the swarm was pushed back. Inspiration across the stars on Prime. The council chamber filled with shouts of astonishment. Ambassadors stared at the reports in disbelief. The Olyari commander whispered, "They fight like no other. Not with fear, not with greed, but with unity." The Talari merchants smiled with pride. The humans waited centuries, and now they show why. They are not conquerors, they are guardians. Even the Charon, though unwilling to admit it, lowered their voices. They could not ignore what their eyes showed them. Across smaller worlds, people cheered. The forgotten civilizations who had begged for protection now felt hope. They hung Terran flags beside their own, believing at last that someone would stand for them. The campaign expands, but victory in one battle was not enough. The swarm adapted quickly. New hives appeared deeper inside the rift. Larger ships hatched from their queens, massive enough to rival capital vessels. The Terran armada launched a full campaign. Human fleets struck not only at the front lines, but behind enemy lines. Stealth ships infiltrated swarm-controlled systems, planting bombs inside hive worlds. Carriers released waves of drones to harass supply chains. Special units captured prisoners for study, learning weaknesses in swarm biology. Each strike weakened the enemy. Each victory inspired the galaxy. Soon other civilizations began to act. The Olyari sent fleets to support Terran forces. The Yaren offered their water worlds as refueling stations. The Talari supplied trade ships filled with resources. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was united, but not under the Council. Under Earth, humanity's sacrifice victory was not without cost. Battles raged day and night. Human ships were lost, and soldiers gave their lives in distant starfields. On the bridge of the flagship Sol's Honor, Admiral Reyes watched as one of their cruisers burned, torn apart by a massive swarm beast. He closed his eyes for a moment, then whispered, "Their sacrifice will not be in vain." Dr. Lin worked tirelessly to create counterweapons. She discovered that certain frequencies of energy disrupted the swarm's hive mind. Soon, Terran ships carried weapons that shattered enemy coordination, turning their assaults into chaos. Isha Malik spoke to the galaxy through broadcast. Her words carried across every channel. Humanity does not fight alone. We fight for every world, every species, every child who deserves to live without fear. Her speech echoed through cities and colonies, giving courage to billions. The turning point months of war passed. The swarm was relentless, but so were the humans. At last, intelligence revealed the location of the central hive, deep within the rift. If it fell, the swarm would collapse. The Terran armada gathered for the final assault. 1,000 warships, scarred but unbroken, prepared for battle. Allies joined them. Olyari wings, Talari traders turned into supply ships, Yaren support fleets. Even a few reluctant Charon vessels came, unwilling to let humanity win all the glory. Admiral Reyes addressed the fleet. "This is the moment we have prepared for. The swarm will throw everything they have at us, but we are not afraid. We are Terran, And today we fight not just for Earth but for the galaxy. Cheers echoed across the comms. The fleet jumped into the Hive system. The final battle. The Hive was a nightmare, a planet-sized nest of bone and chitin, surrounded by millions of swarm ships. The moment the humans arrived, the battle began. The sky burned. Lasers, missiles, plasma, and acid filled the void. Human ships pushed forward in tight formations, cutting through the endless tide. Fighters swarmed like silver arrows, diving into the heart of the enemy. "Focus fire on the Queen ship," Reyes commanded. Dozens of Terran vessels locked onto the largest swarm creature, a monstrous ship that pulsed with the hive mind's energy. Beams of light carved through its armor. Explosions tore across its body. At last, the Queen ship cracked, screaming in a soundless burst of fire. The swarm faltered. Without the Queen's control, their ships lost unity, crashing into each other in confusion. The humans pressed forward. One final strike, one final push, and the hive itself erupted in flames. The swarm had been defeated. The galaxy holds its breath. Silence fell across the battlefield. The Terran armada, though battered and broken in places, still stood strong. Survivors watched as the hive world burned, its fire lighting the void. On every channel, across every planet, the news spread. The swarm is broken. Humanity has saved us. The council chamber on Prime erupted, not in argument but in cheers. For the first time, ambassadors of every species stood together. Their eyes turned toward the human seat. The galaxy had been saved, not by endless debates, but by action. Not by words, but by humanity's will. The war was not completely over. Remnants of the swarm still lurked in dark corners, and new dangers would always rise. But the galaxy now knew one truth. When Earth acted, the stars themselves changed. And as fleets returned home, one phrase echoed through the hearts of billions. When humans fight, the galaxy survives. The galaxy had changed forever. The Vorgath swarm, once the greatest threat in known space, was shattered. Their hives lay in ruins, their fleets destroyed, and their queens no longer guided the countless ships of the swarm. Entire star systems that had been on the brink of destruction now began to rebuild, and at the center of it all stood humanity, a galaxy in awe across countless worlds. Civilizations breathed in relief and disbelief. Stories of the Terran Armada's bravery spread like wildfire. Children on distant planets painted murals of human ships. Merchants spoke in awe of the precision of Terran fleets. Soldiers who had once feared the swarm now carried tales of humanity's discipline, courage, and unity. Even the great empires of the Council, who had once mocked Earth, felt the weight of their absence. The Charon, with their proud scales and sharp teeth, now hesitated before speaking of humans. The Olyari, ever cautious, studied human tactics with admiration and careful calculation. On Prime, the council chamber no longer echoed with endless argument. Instead, ambassadors whispered and watched. They had once debated endlessly while worlds burned. Now humanity had acted, and the galaxy had survived. The council reformed for generations. The Galactic Council had struggled to unify species. Petty disagreements had blocked action, and bureaucracy had become a danger in itself. But the victory of humanity changed the rules. A new session of the Council was called, this time under human guidance. The Terran Assembly did not demand power. They only asked for cooperation and focus. Aisha Malik stood in the chamber, her calm presence commanding attention. "We have shown that action matters," she said. "Debates and votes are important, but when danger comes, hesitation kills worlds. The galaxy must unite, not just in words, but in preparation and defense." Smaller civilizations cheered quietly. The great empires nodded with caution. Even the Charon remained silent, learning the lesson the hard way. A new code was written, the Code of Preparedness. Every civilization would contribute to galactic security. Trade, communication, and defense would no longer be optional for those who had the strength to stand. Rebuilding the swarm worlds. The swarm's destruction left behind planets scarred and broken. Some were toxic, some had lost their ecosystems entirely, and some held remnants of swarm technology. Humanity did not conquer these worlds. Instead, they offered aid. Teams of engineers and scientists traveled to restore planets. Machines purified oceans, repaired soils, and stabilized atmospheres. The Terran Armada provided protection against rogue remnants of the swarm, ensuring colonists and workers could safely rebuild. It was the first time in galactic history that humans were not feared for their military power, but respected for their willingness to help. Bonds forged in battle. The war had united unlikely allies. The Olyari wings, once aloof, now worked closely with human fleets, learning new tactics and sharing knowledge. Talari merchants offered supply lines and trade networks, while Yaran scientists collaborated with Dr. Lin to study alien biology and technology. Even the Charon, though proud, contributed their fleet to the reconstruction efforts. They did so silently, but their participation spoke volumes. The galaxy had learned that unity could not be forced. It could only be inspired by action and example. Among the smaller civilizations, the bond with humanity was strongest. Worlds that had once begged for protection now stood proudly beside humans, ready to defend their homes and their allies in future conflicts. Humanity's seat at the Council for the first time, Earth's seat in the Galactic Council was no longer empty. The Terran delegation walked into the chamber with quiet authority, taking their place among the greatest civilizations. But they did not rule with arrogance or force. Admiral Reyes addressed the council. We fought together, and we survived together. Humanity does not seek domination. We seek unity and preparedness. Let the galaxy remember that strength is not measured by warships alone, but by the courage to act when others hesitate. Aisha Malik added, Our seat here is not a throne. It is a responsibility. Humanity will help the Council guide the galaxy not with threats but with example and action. The chamber erupted in applause. Even skeptical voices could not deny the truth. Humanity had earned their place, not through words but through deeds. The lessons of silence. Humanity's centuries of silence had not been arrogance. They had waited, watched, and prepared. They had learned from history. A galaxy that argues while threats grow is a galaxy that dies. In quiet strategy rooms, Aisha Malik explained to her officers, We did not show ourselves too late. We chose the right moment. Action is only meaningful when it matters most. That is the lesson we give to the galaxy. Across the stars, the stories of human patience, preparation, and precision inspired civilizations. Young aliens studied human history and culture, learning that strength came not from conquest but from discipline, courage, and unity. The phrase "Earth waits, then acts" became common in academies and fleets alike. Humanity had shown the galaxy the power of preparation combined with action. Hope for the future. With the swarm defeated, the galaxy began to rebuild. Trade routes reopened. Colonies were resettled. Resources once thought lost were recovered. And everywhere, humans were present, not as conquerors, but as partners. Dr. Lin worked alongside alien scientists to develop technology for sustainable energy and faster exploration. Engineers taught techniques for building resilient habitats. Soldiers trained new generations of allied fleets, emphasizing discipline, strategy, and respect for life. Humanity's example inspired hope. The galaxy had survived its greatest test because humans had chosen action over hesitation, preparation over pride, and unity over isolation. The new balance. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. The Terran Armada, once unseen and underestimated, had changed the rules. No empire could ignore threats. No civilization could survive alone. And no council could claim authority without action. Civilizations now prepared together, shared resources, and coordinated defenses. The council functioned more efficiently, guided by example. And at the center, humanity stood, not above others, but among them, a partner, a guardian, and a symbol of hope. Aisha Malik addressed the Terran Assembly after the final council session. We do not seek praise. We do not seek power. We only seek to ensure the galaxy remembers that survival belongs to those who act. The stars are now a place where courage matters more than arrogance. Her words echoed across every fleet, every colony, every star system. A reminder that humanity's return had been more than military might. It had been a lesson for all. A galaxy forever changed centuries would pass, and the story of the humans, who had skipped every council meeting, would become legend. Children on distant planets would learn of Earth's silence, their secret preparations, and their decisive arrival. Scholars would study the Terran Armada's tactics. Poets would write songs of the 1,000 warships that had turned the tide of galactic history. And the empty seat in the council chamber, once a symbol of absence, would forever remain a symbol of responsibility. Humanity had shown that true strength lies not only in power, but in patience, preparation, and courage. The galaxy now whispered, a new phrase carrying it through the stars and across generations. When Earth acts, the stars themselves change. For the first time in history, the galaxy knew it had allies it could trust. Humanity was not only a part of the council, they were its heart. The promise. Even as peace settled, humans did not rest. Hidden fleets remained on patrol. Scientists explored the far reaches of space. Diplomats and engineers worked to strengthen the bonds they had forged. The galaxy had learned that silence could be deceptive, and patience could hide great strength. Humanity had proven that true heroes do not always speak first. They act when it matters most. And as the stars gleamed across the void, one truth became certain. The galaxy would never forget Earth, because humans had arrived, and they had changed everything.